pace and continuing on with a little lower than the angels. Just get to the right page. The mason brooded on the events of the day. Every time Gabriel looked round, he found the mace's eyes on him. It made him nervous and clumsy. Out of doors, excited people kept streaming past the church. Something out of the ordinary was happening. The mason and his boys had to leave the church while the mass took place. Feast day for some local saint, he muttered, still eyeing Gabriel up and down contemptuously. Gabriel gathered it was not so much of a saint who was local as one of his bones, which rested in a church treasure chest, and once a year was taken out to be venerated. The whole town took part, a holiday all of their own. Squatting around in the muddy porch, wondering whether he was at mass or not, Gabriel watched the mason eating bread and chives. He watched the sacristan corner of a stray dog and a side chapel and throw it out its doors. He listened to the men gossiping near the door. On their knees or standing, they did not let the service interrupt their conversation. "Well, are you going?" one said. "It's not guild, it's not local, man, just a pack of gypsies. Not as good as locals," said the other. "Do it all year, must be better, stands to reason." "Do it all year? What kind of work's that then? It's unholy, I call it." "Got the church steps, didn't they? Church must favour them." "Groat and farthing show," said a friend suspiciously. The first man left a moment's silence, then said temptingly, "You wouldn't believe hell. I seen it on the road coming. Never seen a hell like it." "Might stay then." "Might," said his friend grudgingly. "Did you hear that?" Gabriel whispered to Squid. "Never seen a hell like it. What's that mean?" Squid had not been listening. They stared at the clothes of the miller and his wife who were first out of the church. "That's velvet," said Gabriel, chafing his shoulder blades against the porch bench because of his own Hessian jacket itched. "You'd like a frock made out of that, would you?" the mason hissed in his ear. "A pretty blue frock to match your eyes?" Gabriel bit his lip and put his hands over his ears and did not speak again. Directly in front of the church was an area of brick paving. In wet weather, the merchants and their wives arriving by wagon did not need to muddy their Sunday shoes. The roots of the yew tree were lifting the bricks here and there, and all the cracks bulged with grass and weeds and little flowers. As Gabriel sat in the church porch, a couple of young men came rushing round the church and began erecting a trellis at either side of the terrace and draping the trellises in cloth. It was like putting blinkers on the church. A great commotion broke out as two huge carts arrived. A wagon larger than any Gabriel had seen before was struggling through the churchyard gate ahead of another. A smaller cart, loaded with barrels, ladders, coils, ropes and trestles. The large one had been painted gold. Patches of gilt still clung to it here and there, like moulting velvet on a deer's antlers. It was open on one side, and along the edge sat 4 or 5 people, their legs dangling only about as far as hubs of huge wheels. So high were the axles. A weather vane in the shape of an iron dog, speckled with rust and gilt, wagged to the top of a cane pole at one corner, with ribbon streamers blowing from its neck. A banner above the tailgate had flapped itself into tatters and been mended many times. Though its colour were faded by the sun and rain, its pattern were indecipherable. But on the inside panels of the 3 cart sides, brightly painted flowers and animals, stalks of corn and grapevines, as well as a rainbow, looked freshly painted. Heaps of clothes stirred in the base of the cart as the wind made them billow. The second sideless, flat-back cart sagged suddenly as one wheel dropped into a newly filled grave, and several of the barrels were spilled and rolled away with a hollow cacophony banging against each other. The mass was over, and the townspeople did not disperse. out of the churchyard. They stood about, watching the carts roll into place on the brick terrace. Some burly women who had carried stalls at mass set them down again facing the church door and the carts and settled themselves, hands folded in their laps, as if prepared to wait long. They looked like broody chickens sitting on their eggs. The empty barrels were used to support a huge trestle table along the two carts. The stage was ready. "Did you never see a play?" said Squip, full of scorn. "We live 9 miles from a town," said Gabriel, feeling his neck go red. "I never went but twice," he added defensively. "I've seen a fair. What is it, anyway?" "Well, it's a play, isn't it?" said Squip, shrugging that meant he was hoping not to be asked for any more details. "You mean it's a game?" "No, a play, stupid. People pretending to be other people. Noah and Jesus and God and snakes and things." Gabriel looked sideways at Squit and wondered what nonsense he was talking now. "Don't you worry your head about it, pretty boy," said the mason, with a threatening, soft-spoken spite. "You won't be seeing it, will you?" And he picked up the boys by their hessian and pushed them back into the church.